You know, in reality, I'm not saying these people are definitively bad. They have a weakness of perceptual belief. They look upon people and determine their core motives as impure. But that is a projection of their own relationship with reality. Me personally, whether anybody has darkness in the heart or whatever, it's all relative. For example, I spoke to a gentleman who opposed Jordan Peterson's beliefs, right? And he believed, I'll not name any names, the point is the narrative of what he was posing, which is basically like everybody that ever expresses anything in particular. The people that you can determine that are actually telling the truth are people that evolve the perception based on new things that they deem as evidence. But no true evidence can be proved because it's all based on perceptual understanding, which is why one being cannot enlighten another. They can only show them the door. Like, I've had a couple of drinks, slurring my words. You better believe that I'm chatting shit. But I have a good relationship with alcohol. You know, the coal miners, they couldn't even drink fucking water because it had cholera in it. So you better believe that I'm telling you the truth here. The point is certain people have a lack of belief in others because they have darkness in their hearts and they deem their motives impure. No, it's relative, and I see light in certain people's motivations, and I see the genius in the way that they perceive reality. But that doesn't mean it's pure, and that doesn't mean they've interpreted it correctly. So the point is here, what makes you think that your perceptions of reality are actually aligned? Or that any sort of narrative when it comes to any higher dimension has been posed correctly? So whatever religion that you hold dear, what makes you think that it's accurate? It's based on a story cast by the past. And it's often expressed as a superlative example of character. No, well, if you look at all of them, they're not, because Muhammad married a 9-year-old and Jesus said, God, why have you forsaken me after not defending his brothers? So, Buddy laughed himself to death, you know. He left the path. To be honest, Buddha's the best one in past, like, I don't know about Mithra and all that sort of shit. Like, it's getting a bit, like, they keep it simple here. Buddha is a man who saw the perception for what it was and laughed himself to death after he left the palace and decided to go to fucking Skid Row with it. Right? We better find out what's going on here. What do you think Buddha is? Really ask yourself the question. A man who laughed himself to death in the face of suffering? Is that man evil? I don't think so. I think that he represents a polarity. Now, God, what do normally people perceive as God? It's that in which nurtures the light, right? So in consciousness, what makes you make good decisions? It's that. But is the darkness evil? No, it's reverse psychology. It wants you to pick the light option, but cannot defy its nature. Who's running that show? Probably Buddha. The archetype that encapsulates that character. You know what I mean? You ever seen the Silent 2 ending? A dog pressing buttons? What does a protagonist need in a story? Opposition, trouble. Something to cast meaning into a void of loneliness. You know, when people take heroin, there was a guy that attracted to me in a very lonely state of mind, in a very painful state, that said God comes to him and explains that his loneliness is unbearable. What do you think God is? God is the collective, but encapsulates a directive mentality of transcendence and evolution. As in, all the aspects of evolution are manifest in the totality, which encapsulates all of being and meaning, as in death, joy, pain, sacrifice, all the colours that can be perceived are manifest in God's senses. Who is God? The transcendental character. But is God the collective? That's up to you to decide. But if God's the collective, which part of it do you define yourself as perceptually aligned to? And if you're wrong, then you might just end up in a kettle. You know what I mean? Forced evolution of an alien that has transcended meaning and imposes law over those it dictates to habilitate them to be competent in the face of those who suck the life out of the innocent, or rather, the light. You think you understand what this universe dictates? I've had windows of perception to let me in to know what lies before us. And if you think that one-dimensional mercy and turning of the cheek works, you better realize that we're animals. We live in the jungle. And whether you think you're pathetic or not, you better shape up and realize that when you live in this world, you're all in. 720. Something to do with pyramids.